Guess what?
What?
I have lost over 2 stone in weight, and
Oh,
I
well done.
I am down 2 clove sizes.
That's so great.
Yeah, feel
What have you
good.
been doing?
Not eating. No.
Yeah.
I have been eating, but I've been eating a lot less sugar, like
Hmm.
hardly any. Um, Still eating carbs, but like better carbs. Um, but to be honest, just portion size.
Yeah.
Just really cutting down on like snacking, portion sizes. But yeah, feeling good.
Good.
So
I'm proud of you.
proud of me.
Proud of you. It's
Thanks.
hard to lose weight
It's really
sometimes.
hard,
I
really
think,
hard.
when people are like, oh, I've tried. I think unless you really try to lose weight, you don't. If you're
Yeah.
just kind of half in it, it doesn't happen.
No,
You
it
have to be
doesn't.
all in
Yeah. You
because
you
it's
have to
hard.
properly throw yourself into it
Yeah.
because yeah, it's really hard. I mean, like even with giving up smoking, I don't I'm not saying it's losing weight is harder than, people that have an addiction to like drugs and
Well,
alcohol
that's
and things
food
like
is
that.
an addiction, isn't it?
But
That's why it's
yeah,
hard.
it's an addiction, but also you need to have it every day.
Yeah.
Like you still need to have it, but it's
Yeah.
just having that control of what
How
type it is
much?
and how much. Yeah, it's really hard, but
Yeah, that's why I struggle with actually my portion size because I just there's no like feel limit. I
yeah,
just eat and eat and eat and eat, and then I'm like, oh, that was a bit too much, wasn't it?
yeah. Now I feel shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it
feels good.
is, and I still get that. I still get that now, where like Claire will be dishing up the dinner, and I look at it and I think, no,
I'm
I
gonna
want more
eat
than that.
all of that.
Yeah, I want more of that. I want more of that. But because I've been doing it for like several months now, I physically can't.
Yeah, you get more full up.
Yeah, so
Yeah, your
I'm
stomach shrinks
just
back.
100%. Yeah, and I'm now in the stage where I'm actually used to that.
Hmm.
So I won't, like yesterday, I stop off on my way to work, and I think, right, I'm going to be working in the middle of nowhere, so I'm going to need food. Whereas normally I'd get like a massive, great big bag of food, and I'd think, well, I might want some of that, and I might want
Uh-huh.
that, and I might
You
want
need
that.
car snacks.
Yeah, well,
Just
yeah,
even for the
that's,
drive, you need car snacks.
yeah, you do. And I would go so over the top.
Yeah.
But now I think, all right, I need to take something for lunch, and I'll literally just get a roll, like
Yeah.
a ham roll or a little pot of some sort of pasta salad or something like that.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. I just get that and like a couple of drinks.
Yeah, it's
But
just
that's it.
retraining yourself, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it
it's
is.
it's
Yeah,
creating new habits,
it
which is
is. It
hard.
is. It's
We went
hard.
to the Royal Albert Hall, didn't we, to
I was gonna
see
ask you.
the Harry Potter in concert, and it was phenomenal. And
Amazing.
I
I
knew it
bet
would
it was
be.
amazing.
Every time they played the music, I was like, ah,
I was just about to say, I
it
bet
makes
you
you
got
so
emotional.
emotional every single time. But you kept getting lost in it, where you'd be
Mm.
watching the film, you'd forget, you'd hear the music, but it would
Yeah.
kind of be an afterthought, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, there's people down there. But
Yeah.
they also had a choir. So
Did
sometimes when
they?
the choir would get me every single time, and they would all stand up and do this like beautiful oh that type thing. And
Yeah.
I'd immediately be like, oh my gosh, right in the feels. And at the end of the show, they after all the credits, because while the credits were playing, they did this whole like Harry Potter theme
Yeah.
thing. And it was just so good. And then right at the end, they put in memory of Dame Maggie Smith, and I was like, oh, right in the feels,
Oh God.
right in the
Oh.
gut.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
Dame
I
Maggie
love
Smith.
her.
But while we was there, it's so posh. The obviously the Royal Albert Hall is so posh and upcoming. And we got there, and I said, "Is there anywhere you can buy snacks?" Because there were no shops nearby. I thought, I'll get
Yeah.
bag popcorn and something like that. There were no shops nearby. So I found one of the stewardess men all like in his royal clothing. And I
Stewardess
said,
men.
stewardess men. Stewards. And I said, you ain't got anywhere like around here that you can buy snacks. And they was like, oh, up on the third floor, they've got like a confectionery area and they've got bars and stuff like that. So we went up there. The fucking snacks they had. It was all these little bags of like really posh popcorn covered in something. Yeah, they had chorizo thins. They had the most rubbish selection of snacks. And I literally went up to the lady and I went, she was like, oh, hello, how are you? And I said, you ain't got any better snacks, have you? And she went, I said, you ain't got like a Haribo or Cadbury?
Yeah, I need like shit snacks.
No. And then they had popcorn there, and she went, "Oh, these are what we've got now. We haven't got any Haribo anymore, and we have got popcorn, but it is only salted." And I was like, "No, the one saving grace is that they had popcorn and it was salted." I was like, "I'm about ready to storm out of there." And I was
funny you should say that.
Oh, salty popcorn. Oh, you got sweet popcorn now.
It has to be sweet.
I said to her, I was like, who are these people buying chorizo thins? Sitting snacking on chorizo thins. Who are these people? And she was like, oh, they were really popular last night. And I was like, of course they fucking were.
Yeah.
And we ended up speaking to her. And she lived in Great Yarmouth, and we had a good old chat, and she was really shook our hands and everything. She was really really nice. And we bought 2 bags. I bought a bag of these like Tony's, Tony's, the chocolate.
Yeah.
They were like Tony's salted caramel, like little balls, and then a bag of white chocolate and raspberry popcorn, like chocolate covered popcorn covered chocolate. I don't know what it is. And then got those 2, and it was £4.95, and I was like, oh, I thought that was what they were going to be each, and I was like, oh, that
30 quid.
Bad. Yeah, and I got some like pink lemonade that had been freshly made. It was all very posh. And we went and sat down, and I opened these bag of Tony's things. We were there obviously about an hour early, so we sat down just eating all of our snacks before the show even started. Yeah. And these Tony's chocolates were delicious. It was so nice.
I love Tony's chocolate. It's great.
I thought me and Josie can share this whole bag. There's not a lot in them anyways. So I thought, I'm going to go and get me some more. And I went down there and I saw this lady. I said, listen, I apologise for the whole snack scenario, because actually these Tony's chocolates are delicious.
I'm going to need some more of them.
I need some more of these. And I got 2 more bags, right? Which obviously we don't need. That's now. Oh, we also bought a bag of these like lime and something like chewy sweets. So we now had 5 bags of sweets. But I gave these 2 to the lady, and she was like, oh, the reason they were so cheap is because I gave you one for free. And she did again. So I got 2 free bags of sweets out of the 5 that we bought. Otherwise, it would have cost us about 50 quid.
Yeah.
On just snacks, which we didn't eat them all, because
she's probably lost her job now.
Mabes.
What was her name?
Oh, what was her name, darling?
Are we going to get her in trouble if we say that?
Get her in trouble, yeah. I don't remember what her name was, but she was really lovely. And Josie's like, I can't believe you just said that. We're in the poshest place in London. I can't believe you just went in there and said, oh, you ain't got any better sweets, Sophia.
I need proper snacks.
Dirty bag of chips or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, Mum, Essex,
I'm glad you had
got us some free bags of sweets.
I'm glad you had a good time.
But yeah, it was great. And also, while we were there, I was like, I am going to do the Jack the Ripper tour while we're here. I'm going to go to Whitechapel. I'm going to do the Jack the Ripper tour. But it was too far away and we didn't end up going. So I would like to do it with yourself and Claire at some point, if we can arrange that. Yeah,
definitely. I definitely think we need to do that. I did it years ago with my mum. Yeah. And it was mind blowing, like to be in those actual locations. But yeah, that's where my fascination with Jack the Ripper came in, because I couldn't believe that there'd been all these like hideous, brutal murders, and like no one knew who it was. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? Huh?
Well,
yeah. Well,
Random blams. Go.
So my random blam is a little bitty one. So I got together some fascinating serial killer statistics.
Oh, all right.
I know. So here they are. So some people are attracted to serial killers,
Oh no, isn't that
and
weird?
but these are people that actually will like go looking for serial killers
Hmm.
for as their partner, which I found a bit mind blowing. But I mean, I get the fascination in it, but I don't get the like attraction.
Attraction.
Yeah, yeah. But each to their own. The FBI really struggled to find a good definition of a serial killer. Like it was a big thing. They couldn't define what a serial killer was. And I always thought it was just someone that killed like many people.
I
Do you know
thought
what I
they
mean?
have to.
Like
I
go
thought
out
they
each
did.
week. They
They
have
have to
now.
find it. Yeah, I was going to say because there's
They have now, but
classifications.
yeah, it was a big thing. And there wasn't a term for serial killers. So
Yeah, and actually, that term didn't get coined until the 70s.
yes, yeah,
Yep, and it
because
was first introduced.
we've mentioned it, haven't we? In
Yeah, there's a really good documentary actually on Netflix, and it's called Mind Hunter.
oh my
And
God, it's
have you
such
watched it?
a good
It's
series.
so good, isn't it? And it's so
So good.
fascinating because actually it's
Yeah,
based on real events, and he goes and they talk
yeah,
to serial killers in the time where
yeah,
they thought they believed people killed because of jealousy,
yeah,
love, things like that, and not because they wanted to kill.
yeah,
So and he then goes around and to the police force and tries to teach people
yeah. It's how it all
about
started,
profiling.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's really, really good if anyone hasn't
yeah,
watched it.
yeah. Definitely to our listeners, it's one of those things where I constantly look for another Mind Hunters on there
Yeah.
because I'm thinking, please let there be
Oh
another
no.
one or something else that's just like it. So if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's so good. Um, but yeah, so back to the blam. In 1987, there was a record number of serial killers operating in the US. So 1987. So whatever happened in 1986, it spurred a load of them on. Um,
Yeah.
Over the decades, a vast majority of serial killers have been men, the majority. Um, the US has the highest number of serial killers to date.
Hmm.
Um,
I was about to mention somebody that's recent, perhaps going to be elected.
don't
There
do
may
it.
be some more.
Don't do it. Um, Ted Bundy's article on Wikipedia had 29.4 million views in 2019. 29.4 million views.
I bet that's because they released that film, didn't they?
It must have been, mustn't it?
With old Mr. Efron.
Yeah. Yeah. Wicked, vile,
Yeah, something
disgusting
like that.
bastard, wasn't
Yeah, yeah. That's what it was named.
it? I paraphrase, but Um, there are more than 2,000 active serial killers in the US at this precise moment.
No, there's not. There's not even serial killers aren't a thing anymore, are they?
Yeah, they are. What do you mean they're
Really?
not a thing anymore? We talk about them all the time.
Yeah, but they're from cases that happened in the 80s and 90s
Not
or
all
early
of them.
2000s. It's not been like a
Ah,
2024 serial killer, is there?
really, probably, yeah. I mean, there must be. I mean, look at some of these people like, oh, I can't think of his name. What's the young boy? The story I did. Honestly, my memory's shocking. And he went and killed that homeless man.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
put the head in his
Yeah.
wardrobe.
Gosh, what was his name?
Oh,
That's
God.
annoying.
I'm sorry, guys. My brain is just so shit at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it like
He would have been.
Absolutely, he would have gone on to kill again
Yeah.
because he loved it. And my last fact on serial killers is, and this is scary. 40% of the time, you might get away with murder in the US.
Yeah, that's
That is
shocking.
a factual statistic. 40% of the time, you could get away
Yeah.
with murder in the
That's
US.
because they've got stupid laws like the gay panic defense.
Yeah.
That's why. And
Yeah,
I
and
won't
you'd
go
get
into
away with it.
anything further.
Yeah. I mean, let's not slate the US, but I mean, yeah, some of the laws out there and some of the people that run for president. Anyway, so what's your random blam?
My random blam is very different to yours. I've just looked it up.
Is it fluffy?
It's a bit fluffy.
Oh, okay. I like that.
It is a random fact about a giraffe. I love giraffes.
Mm-hmm.
And this random fact is that giraffe's heart is about 2 feet long.
Whoa.
It's a massive, massive heart. And do you know why? And I learnt this.
I bet I know why.
Do you know why? Well, there's a program. I can't remember what it's called, but it's they dissect animals, big animals.
Sounds hideous.
Like no, it's fascinating. They've done a lion. It shows you how they roar. They've done an elephant, and it shows you all the padding of their feet and their bone structure. They've done whales, and it's so fascinating because in the case of the giraffe that they did, they showed you how evolution worked, and because there's an artery in the giraffe that's supposed to go from, say, the heart to something else locally, but where that place was in the fish was in a different area. So say like the artery went up.
Yeah.
Now, as evolution went on, this had to kind of redirect itself, this artery. So in the giraffe, it goes from the heart all the way up into its brain, and then like kind of back around just to go next to its heart instead of going across, because of evolution. Instead of like rewiring the entire system, it's just had to adapt. And that might be incredibly boring for people, I don't know, but
yeah, I'll tell you something, it's not more boring than menopause talk.
Oh no.
Sorry about that again.
No, but anyways, so why do you think the giraffe's heart is so big?
Because it would have to pump the blood up their neck to their to their head.
That's exactly why, because the amount of force needed.
Yeah.
It's incredibly thick as well. The wall of the muscle of the heart is incredibly thick because it has to contract so hard to push this blood up to the head.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Do you know what? That reminds me of something that I remember my dad telling us when we were little. And he used to say, if you go to an engineer and you said to an engineer, build me a pump that can work 24/7, 365 days a year for 80 years and no maintenance, it doesn't ever get to shut down, be maintained and cleaned and all that, and then restarted. It has to run consecutively all the way through, and we were like, yeah. And he was like, that is what your heart is.
Yeah.
It's the most efficient pump that there ever was.
Yeah.
And I was like,
boom.
I was like, you just blew my man, Dad. I wasn't. I was probably like, I'm going down the park. Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh,
all
great.
Right.
Thanks for that.
Random blabs.
Done. All right, well, that was good. Yeah, welcome to episode 99, everyone.
It's so funny, isn't it? Oh, we have done more than 100 episodes, but
yeah,
they're like blams and things like this. This is our 100th official, not our 100th, but coming up to our 100th official episode.
Our nearmost 100 episodes.
Nearmost, yeah. 108, 99th.
99th.
The 99th episode.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we hope you all had a terrifying Halloween, and we apologize for the lateness of this episode. But a lot of our listeners are in America, and America are having their busy time.
Menzies.
Yeah, their votes. Yeah, so we thought we would hang on for a bit and yeah, wait and see what happens. So our thoughts are with you all in America, and yeah,
and and
have a,
prayers.
and hopes and prayers.
And hopes and
Uh,
prayers
we do not have opinions on it.
that we are allowed to share.
We're unbiased. No, we're not. All right, I need like let's start the episode before I don't keep my mouth shut anymore.
You're gonna make us lose all of our listeners.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I'm neither for nor against. Morning.
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 Morning. What have you got for me today? Because I've got no idea.
Well, I'll
And when
tell
I
you.
put the post out to say this was going to be late, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm still good. I'm sure it's still going to be worth the wait." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. It might not be. It's not my story.
Yeah, I know. It
It
puts me
might be
under a
wrong.
lot of pressure when people say that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. Oh wait, it's going to be a great episode. It might not be.
No. This might be the shittest episode,
Yeah,
even though it doesn't contain any talk of menopause.
no, and people love that.
People love that. We
People
love
love
it.
that.
They love it.
And speaking of menopause, I've just completely forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, there you go. Here it comes.
Took a deep breath to let it out, and it fucking went.
Yeah, it was just like I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got a true or false, volume 2.
Oh yeah,
So
I was really good at these last time.
you were really good at it. I think you're going to smash this one.
Oh.
But interactive, everyone get involved. See what you think. Some of the stories that I tell are going to be true, and some are going to be outright blatant bastard lies.
Bastard lies that you've created, or
Bastard
bastard lies from the
lies.
internet.
Bastard lies that I've created.
Uh-huh.
They're my lies. Yeah. Yeah. So see what you think.
Right.
Some are longer than others.
Cool. Hit me.
Hit you. All right. First one is a story about Karina. It's a tragic case that captivated people in the 1990s and remains unsolved to this day. Karina was a young woman from Sweden who came to the United States in the summer of 1996 as an au pair, hoping for an adventurous and exciting experience. She was working for a family in Dover, Massachusetts. Yay, whoop, whoop. And was well liked. She was known for her bright personality and beauty. On weekends, she would often go out and enjoy the Boston nightlife. On the night of June 21st, 1996, Karina and her friends went to the popular, I'm told, nightclub of Zanzibar in Boston's theatre district. She was last seen alive around 3 a.m. after separating from her friends. 2 days later, her body was discovered in a grisly manner. The upper half of her body was found in a dumpster in an alley behind 1091 Boylston Street, but her lower half was never located. Despite extensive searches, Karina's murder shocked the community and led to a massive investigation. However, despite interviewing many people, including her host family, who she used to au pair for, club patrons, friends, all of that, authorities were unable to ever identify her killer. The lack of witnesses, missing body parts, and no known motive further complicated the investigation. Several theories emerged over the years, including speculation about her host family and the suspicions of a stalker that she had, but no one was ever charged. The mystery of what happened to Karina remains one of Boston's most chilling unsolved cases and continues to fascinate true crime enthusiasts and investigators alike.
Hmm.
True or false?
I just need a few more facts.
That's all you get.
Karina's body parts. Was it literally up half, body half, bottom half? So split in half.
Yeah.
Split in half where? Like, were there intestines hanging out?
I don't have that kind of information.
I need to know these things. I'm guessing it's true, and as sad as it is, I think it's a true case.
Okay. What do you guys think? Have a think. The answer is true.
Uh-huh.
Her name was Karina Holmer, and the rest of her body has never been found. And the case remains unsolved without any suspects.
Gosh. So like a whole bottom half, like
Yeah,
from pelvis down.
from what I understand. Yeah. I mean,
That's a heavy
a lot
thing,
of
isn't
my
it?
heart is in Boston. A lot of my friends and family are in Boston, Massachusetts. So it would be good to actually go into that case a lot more. But
Yeah, I need more details.
well, you smashed it anyway. You got it right. So
Yeah.
yeah, well done. Did you
Thank
guys get
you.
it right? I bet my people, I bet my people in Boston knew that as soon as I started saying it. I bet they were like, oh, know that. It's true.
Hmm.
Know that. Done that.
Seen it. Got a t-shirt.
This next one took place on September 5th, 2012, near the village of Cheveline, close to Lake Annecy in the French Alps. This brutal and mysterious crime left 4 people dead and 2 children miraculously alive, capturing international attention and leaving investigators baffled. On that day, Saad, a 50-year-old Iraq-born British engineer, was vacationing with his family in the scenic French Alps. He, his wife, and his mother-in-law were all travelling in the family's BMW on a secluded forest road near Cheveline. They were accompanied by their 2 daughters, 7 and 4. That's not their names, that's their ages. As they enjoyed the serene landscape, tragedy struck. Around 3:45 p.m., a French cyclist named Brett came upon a horrifying scene. Saad's BMW was parked awkwardly on the roadside, with the engine still running. Inside, Martin found Saad and the rest of his family shot in a style that suggested brutal execution, each hit with precision. The family's eldest daughter, Zainab, lay outside the car, bloodied and injured, apparently attempting to flee when she was shot and bludgeoned. Miraculously, the youngest daughter, Zena, had survived by hiding under her mother's body inside the car. Just a few meters away, the body of another cyclist, Sylvain, a 45-year-old Frenchman, lay on the ground. He was a local, he was a father of 3, and he had been shot repeatedly, making him an apparent victim of the same calculated attack. The French police quickly mobilised, and the brutality and odd circumstances led to immediate media attention. Ballistic evidence at the scene revealed around 25 bullet castings, all from a Luger pistol.
That's a German gun.
Yeah, which was a really old, unusual
It's like a World War
weapon.
II German. It's a
Yeah.
really strange looking
Yeah, it's got a really thin little barrel that
barrel.
comes out
Yeah.
of like a little chunky body of the gun. Um, the precision shooting suggested a highly skilled attacker, potentially a professional. Given the absence of witnesses, the highly specific nature of the killings, this all developed multiple theories. So, one was that it was a targeted assassination. So, Saad's background in engineering and ties to Iraq raised suspicions on possible espionage or political motives. Another one was that there could have been a family dispute. They said that Saad and his brother had huge disagreements and fights. It could have been mistaken identity. Um, but despite interviews, extensive forensic analysis, and international collaboration, the case has remained unsolved. The two surviving children were eventually brought to safety, with Zena being so deeply traumatized that she initially remained silent, like for I don't know, a certain amount of time, but she just wouldn't talk, and she certainly wouldn't talk about the events. Um, Zainab provided some information, but her injuries and her age limited on what she could offer. So, do you think that this brutal crime that went unsolved, do you think this was true or do you think this was false?
Firstly, as soon as you mentioned the title, I thought, I know this story.
Mm.
And then you said, as you was talking, I was going to interrupt and say, I remember one of the girls survives. I
Mm.
thought she hid under the seat
Right.
of the car. But so I'm going, it's either true or it's based on, this story is based on something that's true. But I do know this story, and I believe the brother had something to do with it. And I think, if I remember rightly, I think it was like a hired hit on behalf of the brother.
Okay. It is actually false. No, it's not. It's true. Um, I had the same thing because when I was writing this down, I thought, have we done this? It's
I was
so
thinking that.
familiar.
I
Yeah.
don't
And I
know
was
why it's
thinking,
familiar.
have we done it? But I think what it was the Shafia honor killings.
Oh, okay.
It's there was a lot of that sounded very familiar to
Yeah.
me. And then when I read that it was actually in France, I thought, no, we haven't done
No.
that. And but yeah, again, I would like to go into that
Yeah, this is
one
actually, there's
more.
a lot more to the story than obviously
Yeah,
the shortened down version that you've given us. But
yeah,
I do know this story.
yeah. And I'm interested to find out about the cyclist and that as well. Like, I
Yeah.
want to know why he was shot so many
Well,
times.
there's a lot of theories around it because it is unsolved.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of theories. But
yeah,
yeah, it's very interesting.
yeah. So maybe we'll take these ones and yeah, do like full episodes on them, but
Hmm.
who knows? Okay, next one. This is bizarre. Um, in the quiet coastal town of Haverford Bay, a small community known for its misty mornings and serene beaches, the life of an accomplished marine biologist called Dr. Charles Winters was cut short in one of the strangest and most disturbing murders that the world has ever seen. It was a foggy morning on October 12th, 2019, when a group of fishermen found Dr. Winter's um, body laying on the shore, lying flat on his back with his arms and legs stretched outward as if positioned deliberately. At first, it appeared that he had simply washed up on the shore, but at closer inspection, it revealed something far more unsettling. They said that Dr. Winter's face was covered in tiny red scratches and his eyes were open wide, staring blankly towards the ocean. Around his neck was a long string of seaweed that had been looped 5 times, knotted at his throat with like exact precision. Dr. Winters was a well-known and well-liked doctor in Haverford Bay. He'd been studying marine life in the area for over 2 decades, focusing on strange migrations of jellyfish along the coastline. He was considered somewhat eccentric but harmless, always seen wading knee deep in the water at dawn, collecting samples or cataloguing specimens in his lab near the beach. Many locals knew him as Doc, and they referred to him as a friendly guy, occasionally a bit odd, but decent guy. Upon investigation, forensics team noticed that the scene seemed staged. The seaweed necklace was an unnatural addition, tied very tightly, and it could not have been something that had just sort of drifted and hooked round his neck. Yet the strangest part was that Winter's fingers and feet were coated in a thick, sticky substance that smelled vaguely of anise. When I first did this, I apologise, but I did actually write anus, and I questioned
No, they
whether
can't.
I was thinking, what? His feet and hands smelt of anus. Anise, which is a herb, um, which completely baffled investigators. This was something they hadn't encountered in any typical drowning case. They wondered if it had anything to do with his murder, or whether it was just maybe he just smelt like that anyway. Um, as they searched the surrounding areas, investigators found a small trail of phosphorescent algae leading away from Dr. Winter's like lab, where his lab was on the shoreline, to where his body had been discovered. The trail was
This,
faint.
sorry, this sounds like a case for Sherlock Holmes.
Does, doesn't it? I know. Um, the trail was faint, only visible under ultraviolet light, and led from his office door to pretty much where his body was found on the beach. Inside Dr. Winter's lab, investigators found the latest research notes strewn across his desk, uncovered with scrawlings and lots of things that had been crossed out, like he was a little bit frantic. Um, Among the research materials were sketches of this unusual jellyfish with its tentacles almost like claw-like in the illustrations. The autopsy revealed that Dr. Winters had no water in his lungs, so this ruled out drowning. Instead, his cause of death was listed as acute cardiac arrest induced by neurotoxic venom. The
Oh.
venom was closely matched to that of the rare jellyfish, but um, this was like an unnatural high concentration that was found. This particular type of venom could paralyze muscles in seconds, and experts suggested that only one minute amount would be enough to stop his heart, because obviously your heart's a muscle. So some theories and suspects: it could have been suicide, could have been a murder by a jealous colleague. Some people say that there's a local myth about a sea witch, and he could have angered her. Um,
Ursula.
yeah, yeah, Ursula, yeah. Um, but to this day, the death or murder of Dr. Charles Winters remains unsolved, with investigators wondering whether he was killed in a twist of revenge, or whether it was something a bit stranger. Maybe he's uh, words just gone out of my head. Research, whether his research went awry, don't know, but it remains unsolved. So what do you think?
Um, I think that's a very unfortunate thing to have happened if it is true.
Yeah.
That's a bit rubbish. I think if that is true, then it's probably some sort of research or experiment that's not gone the way that he thought, because I think if you're going to murder someone, you're not going to take the toxin of jellyfish.
No,
And
100%.
no, that's a bit too elaborate, isn't it? I think I'm going to go with my gut, and I think I'm going to say it's not true.
It's false.
Yes.
Good gut feeling. Yeah. It's completely fictitious. And yeah, Dr. Winters, you will all be pleased to know, was not found dead. He's alive
Good
and
old
well.
chap. Good old chap.
Chatting with Ursula. This next case is set in St. Michael-sur-Mer, nestled along the French coastline. And it's about a lady called Margot. And Margot was known for her reclusive nature and eccentric habits. She was in her mid-40s. She lived alone in a stone cottage that overlooked the ocean. Despite her mysterious ways, Margot had a small, local, loyal circle of friends who she saw regularly. She, like I said before, she was eccentric, but she all of a sudden disappeared. So no one saw her. She was last seen on the evening of September 13th, 2018, leaving a local cafe after an impromptu dinner with her friend Emile. She seemed distracted. She said she was working on a new kind of piece. So when I say new kind of piece, she created like sculptures, artwork, things like that. So after this evening at the cafe, 3 days later, a neighbour noticed that Margot's front door was slightly ajar, and she decided to go and check in on her. She entered the dim, cluttered house and found Margot's body in the centre of her studio, surrounded by strange artifacts and half-finished sculptures. Margot was laying on her back. Her face was frozen in an expression of terror, and in one hand, she was clutching a small, dark stone that was shaped a bit like a fish. Her cause of death was listed as acute asphyxiation, but there was no evidence of strangulation, obstruction, or any typical signs of suffocation. Instead, her mouth and throat were filled with a strange, salty sludge that had hardened to a crusty substance. The air in the studio was thick with the scent of salt and brine, and it was a bit like humid in there, like very like they likened it to like a cave by the sea. It was very
Oh,
humid, damp, smelt salty. Um, the details surrounding Margot's death became even stranger, um, as arranged around her were 8 small sculptures, each carved from driftwood and adorned with what appeared to be like dried kelp. Margot's friends were questioned extensively, but none provided any leads. Emile, the last person to see her alive, claimed that she said that she had been working obsessively on a new project that she refused to discuss. She had told Emile that it would be her most complete piece yet. Though she never elaborated on it, and she wouldn't talk to Emil about it any further, and she wouldn't tell him what it was. About a week after Margot's death, police found an old notebook buried under a pile of driftwood in her studio. The notebook was filled with sketches of strange angular sea creatures, with phrases like "the eyes never close." So it was all very strange. Uh, Unable to establish a cause of death beyond the asphyxiation by this unknown substance, Margot's sculptures and belongings were distributed among her friends, but her home was never occupied again. Some who visited the cottage after her death claimed that they felt an oppressive atmosphere in her studio, as if they were being watched. Do you think that is true or false?
That's a tricky one, actually.
It's a tricky one.
It's a very tricky one. I think it's very unfortunate.
Poor Margot.
Poor Margot. It sounds unrealistic. Like the other one, there's too many things that have happened, but my gut's telling me that it's probably true. But it does sound like one of those things Sherlock Holmes would walk into and be like,
Yeah.
The salt is from this region.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
the salt is from Africa, however.
Yeah. I think it probably I think I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's true.
It is false.
Oh, I knew it.
I know. Well, this next one and last one is the murder of Antoinette, and this was in Ireland, and it's one of the most haunting and unsolved cases. Antoinette was a 27-year-old mother of two who disappeared in July 1987 after a night out in Dublin. Her body was discovered nearly a year later, and to this day, nobody has been held accountable for her tragic death. So Antoinette Smith lived in oh God, I'm going to butcher these names. Condalkin in Dublin with her husband and two young daughters. Described as a caring, devoted mother, she was popular within her community. And on July 11th, 1987, Antoinette attended a David Bowie concert in Slane, County Meath, with a friend. Following the concert, the pair returned to Dublin for a night out in the city. This was intended as a relaxing evening, a break from her busy life as a young mother. After the night of dancing and socialising, Antoinette and her friend decided to go home in the early hours of July 12th. Her friend departed first, and Antoinette was seen getting into a taxi near Dublin's Westmoreland Street around 2 a.m. Witnesses later reported seeing her at various points of the night, but she never made it home. Her family grew increasingly concerned, and when her husband reported her missing, an extensive search and investigation began, but no solid leads emerged. Antoinette seemed to have vanished without a trace. On April 3rd, 1988, 9 months after her disappearance, Antoinette's body was discovered in a remote location in the Wicklow Mountains, which is County Wicklow. Her remains were found partially buried by a group. It was discovered by a group of hill walkers. I just realised that I read that as
partially discovered,
buried by a group of hill walkers.
That's what my brain is starting to picture.
Yeah, loads of hill walkers all piled on top. But these hill walkers stumbled upon the disturbing scene. Antoinette had been strangled and then dumped in this secluded area. The investigation into Antoinette's murder was intense, and detectives pursued every lead, but her killer was never identified. Over the years, several theories have been proposed. One was she was abducted by a stranger. So, given the randomness of her last moments in the city, police considered the possibility that she could have encountered a stranger who offered to give her a lift home, or potentially a stranger that had abducted her en route to her home. This theory provided pretty much no concrete evidence to suggest it. But another idea was that it was a known acquaintance. So they said that she might have bumped into someone that she knew, and they said, do you want a lift home, or do you want to come back to mine, or whatever, and, have a drink or something like that. But this scenario was actually plausible because of the secluded location of her body suggested an awareness of the area.
Mm-hmm.
Another idea was that it could have been a serial offender, as in the years following Antoinette's murder, other women were also found murdered or missing under similar circumstances. Some suspected that her case could have been linked to a repeat offender operating in Ireland during that period. But no proper solid connections were ever made. Despite numerous appeals and considerable media presence over the years, Antoinette's case grew cold. Investigators continued to re-examine evidence and pursued new forensic possibilities as technology evolved, but the killer remains at large. Antoinette's daughters and family have kept her memory alive, campaigning for justice and reminding the public of her case through the media. The tragic circumstances surrounding her case and death and the lack of resolution have deeply impacted her family and the whole community. So do you think that is true or false?
I think it's probably true, and I think it's probably the work of a serial killer in working in and around the Ireland state. That's what I reckon.
Well, that one is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's another one of just disappeared.
Nobody knows. That's so
Nobody
terrifying,
knows
isn't
what
it? That you
happened.
could just disappear and then end up dead, and nobody
Yeah.
have any idea of your last
No. And it would be
moments.
so upsetting and traumatizing for your family, because you'd
Yeah.
just be like, I just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
And
Well, do you
everyone
remember the
says it,
case?
don't they?
Mm,
Not knowing is worse.
yeah, Andrew Gosden. They
Yeah.
said I'd rather have a bag of bones delivered to me than
Yeah.
keep not knowing. But do you remember the case of the name's just flown out of my head. Julianne Kopke, who fell 10,000 feet from an
Yes.
aeroplane and then spent
Yeah.
all that time in the jungle surviving. And she thought, if I die now in the jungle,
Mm.
no one's ever going to know what I've been through the last few
Yeah.
days in order to
Yeah.
survive. And if she hadn't have come out the other end, nobody would have had any idea that she actually survived that
Yeah.
crash. Then she spent ages living and,
Yeah. Trying to survive
trying to
again. Yeah.
survive. Yeah, and that's what a
I
great
know.
story to
I
have. But
know.
yeah, it's terrifying that you can just, like, nobody has got no idea.
Yeah. I
Um,
know. I think this when I go to work, and I'm like in the middle of nowhere, and it's obviously it's getting dark early, and I think I'm in the middle of nowhere, like working on my own, and it's dark and that. And I think if a serial killer came up across like upon me now, I'd be a prime target.
yeah.
I mean, I'm feisty, so I'd like to think, I stand a chance. But I tell you what I've started doing now is if I record voice notes on my watch, And the microphone on these are brilliant. Like it
Yeah.
picks up everything. Um, if ever I get nervous or anything like that, I switch that on.
Do you?
Yeah, so I record it because it saves it to like the cloud.
Yeah. That's a good
I
idea,
think,
isn't it? If you're in a situation where somebody random comes up to you and starts speaking to you, you can quickly switch the voice,
yeah,
switch that on.
yeah, just
What's
quickly switch it on. Yeah,
There's a case, and I can't remember what it's called, but two young girls go that are found dead. They last seen across a bridge, and they take a picture because there's a man following them, and their last picture that they've taken is of them, but in the background is this man.
that is vaguely
And
familiar.
then they have a conversation with him, and on her phone is a recording, and you can hear this man shouting something in the background, but it's quite distorted. I can't remember who it is, but we'll cover that
Mm.
case because it's a great case.
Yeah,
But he was never caught. But they do that and they record it as well.
that's
And I
cool,
shall
isn't
bring,
it?
I
Yeah.
know, I shall bring something up.
Mm.
And this is something I was going to bring up in our next episode because it's relevant in the next episode, but it's
Yeah.
also relevant now.
Okay.
But back in the 1800s, they used to believe, or the late 1800s, they used to believe that the retina
Mm.
of a deceased person stored the image of what they last saw. So
Yeah.
they would take a picture of their eyes to see if they could see what they saw
The killer.
last.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, get a picture of their killer, who the killer was. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. No,
That is
there's
not the case.
no, unfortunately. I know I say that to Claire a lot. I'm like, oh, I wish I could take a picture with my eyes.
Uh-huh. You know
Like,
what I often do? I
what?
wish I could capture smells.
Yeah.
I wish there was something, when we take a picture or we video and listen
Mm.
to voices, listen to sounds. I wish there was something that you could capture a smell
Yeah. No,
and
I
send
get
it to
you.
someone.
I'm with you on that because like I remember saying to Claire when we were going to go to America for the first time, I remember saying to her, America smells great. And she was
Really?
like, what do you mean? And I was like, it smells different.
Like Waffle Houses and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Smells
Yeah,
like maple syrup.
it smells like I don't know, like coffee and donuts and barbecue and wintergreen mints and clean. It smells clean. Well, I mean it does like in Boston anyway, but
Yeah.
I just remember going to like America and saying to Claire, it smells good. Like as soon as you get there and we go outside like the airport and we get away from the airport, America just smells nice. It just smells good. I mean,
That's
potentially
interesting.
it might stink soon, mightn't it?
Might stink very
But
bad
we
soon.
we don't have an opinion on that. Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it'd be great if you could like capture a smell and go, oh, because I mean, I
Smell
love it.
this.
Yeah, I like it in autumn in England when you go out and it's like, cold mornings when
Yeah.
it's like, it's always misty in it
Yeah, it's
over
misty
here,
this
like in the
morning.
winter. Yeah, like it's that misty, there's like leaves everywhere and you get that like fresh morning winter smell.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I know it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it smells like a bit piney and conkery,
Moldy leaves.
moldy leaves. Yeah. Maybe not.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, you did well. Smashed it
Yeah.
again.
I
Smashed
got
it
one
again.
wrong though, which I'm a bit disappointed in myself.
All right. Well, volume 3, when that comes out, we'll see if we can get
I might go for
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone smashed it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, cool.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
And
you.
to all of our listeners in America, hope you're all right. We're thinking of you.
We're really thinking of you.
Really thinking
Gosh.
of you, but we don't have an opinion on it. So,
No.
yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. If you have enjoyed listening to our episodes, make sure you rate us and leave us a review on whatever platform you are listening.
We absolutely love hearing from you guys. So you can also help support our show by donating to our Buy Me a Coffee link. We will make sure that you get a massive shout out and a big thank you in our next week's episode.
You can also follow us on social media at Perplexed Podcasts. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and if you want to see more videos and blooper reels, subscribe to our TikTok and YouTube channels.
You can also email us your stories at perplexedpodcasts@gmail.com.
And you can find all the relevant links in the episode descriptions. Thanks for listening. Bye.